The SHIFT project, an Erasmus Plus funded project that has been running since December 2019, so for 2 years now. I welcome you all to this final event of the SHIFT project. I said it before, we officially started, unfortunately, online and not in person. We decided on that change in the last week, so it was a very, very short notice change. And my name is Ruth Jacobi. I'm one of the 2 Secretaries General of the European Music Council. All our SHIFT partners are here with us today, and Caroline will introduce them to you in a short moment. I will just share very briefly a few ideas, a few thoughts about the beginning of this project, which actually was born from exchanges between secretaries generals and directors from cultural networks, European cultural networks. We used to meet in person for a kind of retreat to exchange on topics of leading such cultural networks, topics that we share, concerns that we have, and we felt that we all lack in training. We all want to bring about change. We want to bring about training for our networks, and we were totally lacking training for ourselves. So we decided to design training for ourselves and to look at very specific topics, as for example, leading such a cultural network, leadership of cultural networks, but also looking at the UN Sustainable Development Goals, at least 3 of them. And these are the main ideas that made us design this project. And I'm very happy now to pass the word to Caroline to explain us a little bit more about what SHIFT actually is.
Thank you, Ruth, and a warm welcome from myself as well. I am, as Ruth said, the project officer of the European Music Council, and I've been working for the SHIFT project for the last years. And I will share my screen. Just give me a second. I hope you can all see it from the beginning as a full screen. If somebody can give me a, okay, good. This is we have a corporate design, and you will see that this is the same corporate in the same slides for all of the partners. But I will start with sharing you who is the SHIFT project. And this is a cooperation project of 9 partners. So I'll introduce you to them, which is European Core Association, Transeuropal, MC, FACE, ELIA, International Music Council, ITM, On the Move, and ourselves as project coordinator, the European Music Council. And we are a project co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. And why we did this, it was, as Ruth explained a bit, because we came to we saw that we lack some tools and guidelines on how to tackle big issues big global issues in the world. And especially, we decided that we needed some training to get more knowledge on specific topics, which we will share with you in a few minutes, and also to implement change, because we have seen that it's always difficult when you have your day-to-day work in a cultural organization or in an organization to really focus on more transversal topics, and that you don't have the time to really tackle and really create a change in your organization. And this is what we aim to do. And of course, as well, everything will be for free online, and we would like to share this knowledge, being networks with our members, but also with the broader cultural sector, and create synergies and cooperations. And hopefully a future is ahead of us in SHIFT. And so what is it about? We have looked at the Sustainable Development Goals, which are a blueprint from the United Nations. They were released in 2015, and it is kind of a to-do list for the world with 17 goals on how to create better societies. And there are different topics, and what we selected, because of obviously it's a lot of work to tackle all of these topics at the same time, we decided to focus on 3 of them. I think I went too fast, which are gender equality, Objective 5, Objective 10, reduce inequalities, and Objective 13, climate action. But we see a lot of synergies between these goals. For example, clean water is obviously related to climate action. So we hope that we can work on all the SDGs at the same time by focusing on 3 of them. And what we have done since December 2019 until now is creating some resources, gathering some resources and creating some online manuals and guidelines on the 4 topics. And now you're wondering why I'm talking about 4. It is because we have decided to see the 3 gender reduced inequalities and environmental sustainability under the lens of cultural leadership, and how we can create change as being leaders, and how we can be the leaders of this change. And this is why we also have this as a topic, kind of a hat topic, being above, but also inside all of the other topics. And I will just quickly introduce you to the 4 topics, because I'm sure you're just waiting to hear from our partners. And so cultural leadership is led by Transeuropal, and Fairooz Tamimi will be our speaker today. And she has been working on the topic since a year now. And now we will also have on environmental sustainability, Elia has been leading the topic, and Maria Hansen will be our speaker today. And on gender and power relations, the topic leader was ITM, but they have worked in cooperation with many members, many partners. Sorry, and Marie Le Sour will join Asa Richardsdottir. I'm sorry for maybe pronouncing not well your name, as speakers. And our final topic is reducing inequalities, and the topic leader was European Co-Association, and Sophie Dowden will let us introduce us to their work in the inclusion topic. And of course, all of the partners were part of this process, and even though there's a leader, it was a very cooperative work. And I'll just give the word now to my colleagues, but you can, of course, find all our resources for free on our SHIFT website, and also on the knowledge base website created by Transeuropal, artsmetric.com. And if you have any questions, please contact us, but I will let my colleagues now introduce you to their work.
I invite now Fairooz Tamimi to share with us the results so far and the insights on the output leadership. Fairooz, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Now, I hope you can see my screen. Okay, so there will be a bit of repetition. Hi, everyone. My name is Fairooz Tamimi, and I'm Sustainability Specialist with Transeuropal. Transeuropal, as maybe most of you know, we are a cultural network of repurposed buildings in 40 plus countries in Europe, and with almost 140 members. I will talk about our output that we were responsible for. And as Caroline just said, we were leading, but it was a collaborative work. It was shared between all the partners. I will start with mentioning the aim of SHIFT. So there are these 3 really pressing sustainable development goals: the climate change, the inclusion, and the gender and power relations. These are pressing topics, and we cannot wait we have to tackle them immediately. But what does cultural leadership has to do with them? Because this is not changing a process. This is not changing a tool. You are changing people's behavior. And for that, you will face as a leader, as a cultural worker in the leadership position, you will face resistance. Thank you. It was a power cut. So I am presenting from a country outside Europe. And this reminds me of the privileges that we have in Europe and we forget every day. So excuse me and forgive me for this. It was out of my hands. I will not repeat what I was saying. I will just go to the last point. I was saying that we need cultural leadership because there is lots of change that needs to happen, and it is changing people and behaviors. And for that, we need to bring in our teams and our members in the journey of change. For that, we need specific tools. We need co-creation. We need co-design. We cannot work with old methods where the change is coming from top down. We need to build up from bottom up and work with participation and participatory governance. And that's why we found that there were 7 topics that we really want to work with in this output. And one of the things is that we as cultural leaders, as many, you will read one of the quotes in one of the outputs, that cultural leaders are usually lonely. So we wanted not to be lonely. We wanted to share this knowledge. We wanted to share best practices and to work as a team on our outputs. So the outputs from our cultural leadership pillar is, first, we have the cultural leadership annotated bibliography. Then we have the online free database of Shift resources. I will explain a little bit very briefly about everyone. The compendium of leadership training tools, and finally the toolkit. This is like really still very recent. So the bibliography, as also presented, that this is where we collected 50 resources on cultural leadership, on the topics on 7 themes and topics that we think that a cultural leader needs to read and to know very well. So these annotated bibliographies include a brief, keywords, so you can easily know what is this resource about. It includes the language. Most of the languages are English, and they are all in one place. So you can, for example, go and read about co-creation or civic design. So they are very focused by topic, and it's easy to refer to them. Then this is already published on the website that we mentioned earlier, and it's in the chat already. It covers the topics as we mentioned, and I will go over the topics one by one. This is our online database. This is a database that is online and free and is developed by Trans-Europal, and it's called Arts Metric. It includes so many resources, and Shift project includes almost more than 200 resources in this database. But there are more than the Shift project. There are other projects. So it is really rich, but you can, for example, if you want to see Shift resources, you can filter by the project, you can filter by the language or the theme, the type of content. So there are many resources that you can use here. And can you hear me well? I can see that my connection is not stable. Okay, perfect. And then there is a compendium of leadership training tools. So we as partners in the Shift project, we had a training event in last September, where we used and tested many tools that are necessary for us to work with these topics. And this will be coming very soon in January in a compendium that collects all the tools for training and knowledge share. Finally, this is the cultural leadership toolkit. This is a wide spectrum, as you see, of expertise, learnings, but most importantly, of perspectives. So we get the perspectives of cultural leaders who are part of Shift, but also who are not part of Shift. People who are working with different sizes of organizations, different locations, different focus points, different conditions. So we collect these perspectives, and the most important thing about this toolkit is that we do not claim that there is one right way to do things. And that's why if you refer to the toolkit to find like what is cultural leadership as a one definition that gives you the absolute truth, you will not find that. You will find many different ways of identifying what is cultural leadership, what is participatory governance. So you will find different perspectives, because we definitely, there is no one size that fits all. The toolkit, the contents, you can expect to find so many books that we have already reviewed and we think that they are great and you must read them as a cultural leader. There are many interviews and podcasts. There are quotes that will inspire you. Either you can relate to, or you can challenge, or you can look more. There are, of course, case studies and best practices and lessons learned. This is what you can expect to see in the toolkit. And our work was guided by the principles that we need a simple toolkit. Simple doesn't mean poor. Simple as easy to read, as no long text. It's not an academic publication. It's not a research. We are going to include so many resources in a fun way, playful way, a way that allows you to choose what you want to read and explore more. So we do not rewrite what was published in other books or rephrase it. We just lead you to where you can find good resources. And we claim that we have reviewed a lot of relevant publications and we want to share this with you. So the 7 topics about cultural leadership that we identified as really important and that as a leader you need to look at them is, first, of course, the cultural leadership. There are so many definitions, there are so many concepts around them, but also how did cultural leadership change over time? Is it the same now as it was before? But also, what are the challenges that you are facing as a leader of a cultural network, where you don't have really authority over people who are working with you? You have to influence, you have to create impact in a different way because you are working in a democratic set with members. So this is another, what are the challenges that you are facing? How do you develop professionally as a cultural leader? All of these are covered in the cultural leadership section. The second section is co-development and co-creation methodologies, because as we said, you cannot work, you are as a leader, you cannot work on creating the changes relevant or related to the SDGs, to the Sustainable Development Goals, to the climate change and inclusion and gender and equality. You cannot work on this alone. You need to make this the creation of a group of people. And as cultural leaders and as cultural leaders of networks and organizations that works a lot with the public, with people, with citizens, you need also to include them as part of your stakeholders. So that's why you need to understand really a lot of the civic design topics, how the civic spaces, how do you work with these issues, to understand how you can influence and create the impact. And of course, participatory governance comes from that you have to create the participation, and it's not the participation for the sake of participation. It is the participation where you allow the participants to be part of the decisions that you are creating as a cultural network or organization. So, and we explore a lot about participatory governance, like what why do we care about it? What is it actually? And who is it for? And what are the application areas of participatory governance? So you will find a lot in this section, and we also explore some of the best practices that we found in Europe. We share that with you, and there is a brief about the case studies, but also we are leading you where you can find and read more. Also, we have the digital tools for participatory governance. We have participatory governance, but now, and especially after COVID, we can see that there is a lot of reliance on digital tools. So we are looking at different digital tools, participatory governance, but also there are more purposes that you can find. There is this section in the toolkit, but there is an appendix that our partners enriched it, like really with lots of their work, especially AMC and Elia. You at IMC also, they were very much working with these tools, exploring what are the best tools during the COVID to bring in the team for General Assembly, for voting. So you can expect that you will find a lot of these tools in this section and in the appendix. And then we have the organizational change and evolution. This is about how your organization as a cultural network or a cultural organization, how it is changing, but also evolving, because there are waves of evolution for organizations, and mostly many of you have read this or maybe even practiced the teal organizations and the holacracy and the self-management managed teams. So you will find a lot of interesting material in this. It is allowing you to also cross, not only looking inside the cultural sector, because you can look outside the cultural sector sometimes to see and be inspired of best practices in the world. How can you evolve as an organization and bring everyone with you in this journey? Then we have the organizational learning. What is a learning organization? And what is organizational learning? What are the building blocks of each? And finally, we have excellent expertise within the partners about evaluation and impact assessment. And it is how you evaluate the impact of your organization, of your artistic organization. How do you evaluate or assess your governance? So you will find lots of interesting resources there. And these are the main topics. The toolkit is almost, it will be between 70 and 90 because we are still working with the final design. It will not be boring, I promise you. It will be a good read and excellent resources.